Hey, how's it going? Brian Bowman here. And you know what? I just want to dive right into this because I am so freaking excited to talk to you about this today. It doesn't matter what stage you're at in your business. It doesn't matter if you are just starting out. If you're looking for that first bit of traction to get you going in your business, if you're already established and you're looking for that spike of momentum of sales to just get this thing going again, to break through from a plateau to get to the next level, I promise you, what I'm going to talk about today is the secret. It's the ingredient. It's what you need to start implementing. And I mean, start doing, and I mean today, okay? This has been one of the most powerful pieces of business advice that I've ever gotten. It's something that I still to this day, just practice religiously. And I'm going to give you some very specific examples. Okay. So I want to read something to you really quickly. This is a essay that was written by Paul Graham. He's one of the, he has a bunch of essays online. He's one of the co-founders, I believe co-founders of Y Combinator. So that's where they help high growth tech startups really take off. One of their most famous companies is Stripe. There's a ton of others that they've had. And here's an essay that he wrote, and I encourage you to go check it out. You can find it online. And he says, it's July 2013, and he says, one of the most common types of advice we give at Y Combinator is to do things that don't scale. A lot of would-be founders believe that startups either take off or they don't. You build something, make it available, and if you've made a better mousetrap, people beat a path to your door as promised. Or they don't, in which case the market must not exist. Actually, startups take off because the founders make them take off. There may be a handful that just grew by themselves, but usually it takes some sort of push to get them going. A good metaphor would be the cranks that car engines had before they got electric starters. Once the engine was going, it would keep going, but there was a separate and laborious process to get it going. This is similar to an analogy that I use as well, that, to really get a car going, to start pushing it, takes a lot of effort. Once it gets going, you can almost push it with one finger, right? And you can keep running and pushing it. Well, what Paul Graham's talking about, and I don't know if you picked up the one line, and this is the thing I want to talk about, is do things that don't scale. I promise you, it's so simple, but there are so many benefits to this, and so many things that are going to impact your business if you start living by this principle. So when I first started and wanted to build a brand, I was an actuary. I don't know if you know what an actuary is. Basically, really like a math, stats-driven profession. We analyze risk. I was doing really high-level stuff for variable annuities and hedging. I went to an insurance company, and I was working as an actuary in an insurance company. And I wanted to start a brand. We had flipped furniture, we had flipped books, we had done a lot of flipping online and actually made pretty good money on the side. In fact, flipping furniture, we made quite a bit, and it paid for our vacations. It helped put some money away, helped redo the floors in our house. But it wasn't a real business. And I knew there was an opportunity to create a real business online because I had proven this concept for about 6 years that I was flipping products online and it was working. And if you've ever had this where you're trying to figure out, what do I start selling? The first thing that I would say is you got to pick a niche. And we had picked a niche. We knew we wanted to, we were outdoorsy people, my wife and I. So we picked the outdoor niche, camping, hiking, things like that. But really it came down to product selection. Like, what are we going to start with? And there's all these tools, and there's so many more now than there were when we started. But there's so many tools that will give you rankings and estimated sales volume and all this other stuff. But these are all guesses at the end of the day. So we had the niche picked. So we knew the next step was to actually figure out what products to sell. So we ordered a bunch of samples. We got all kinds of random stuff that we thought would be a good idea. So we did do some research. We had an educated guess, but we brought all these samples over, ordered them, and had them delivered to our front door. Okay. Something that doesn't scale, right? We didn't have fulfillment warehouses in place. We weren't thinking big picture of like, how do we scale this to this multi-million-dollar business that ended up being. It was really at first getting the stuff shipped to our front door. So we had all these samples of all these different products. We had no idea what we wanted to start with. So what we did is we, without even knowing this advice, I know this now, but we started doing things that didn't scale. We would go to REI camping outdoor stuff. We would go to REI for hours, literally for hours. And I would stand in the aisles. I would notice what did they put on the end caps? We would go through, we would touch all the different products. We would, in the aisle, like if there was maybe one thing we had an idea might be a good product, we would stand in the aisle next to that product, like kind of pretending we were looking at it until somebody came, let's say it was a camping hammock. And we would talk with them like, oh, like, why are you considering this? Like, oh, we're kind of doing the same thing. We would start up this random conversation and we would learn about why they were buying it. Had they bought it before? What complaints did they have? And we would also notice what other things would be positioned next to that. So for like upsells and offers, what other items should we be looking at if that ends up being the thing that we're going to sell? So the bottom line is this isn't something that scales. There's no software program that does this, but I promise you that was some of the biggest insight that we ever got. And it helped us so much, even to this day, understanding customers, period, in any niche, in any business we get into. We also would go to flea markets. Like we would take all these samples and we would, again, this doesn't scale, right? Everyone's thinking like, how do we start selling a bunch of stuff? Well, we would sell a handful of things, but we would see firsthand what sold. We would get a chance to talk to the people, right? And actually have to sell them on it sometimes and figure out what were the pain points, what were the things that, what drew their eye, what colors did they like? We would have two or three different colors of the same product. What's the one that they touched first? This is all things that don't scale, but we got to see firsthand. And we got real customer feedback. So in that same way, I want to encourage you to do things that don't scale. And I want to run through a whole bunch of tactical things that you can do. But I promise you, no matter what stage you're at in your business, if you will start doing this, I promise you, there are so many benefits to it. And some of them are directly related to knowing your customer. Others are related to you and your emotion and how you feel about the business and how you feel about the product. So number one is when you're doing things that don't scale, it helps you do customer research, right? So use this for customer research. Go to stores that sell products that you're considering selling. Or if you already sell, but you don't have a brick and mortar, let's say you have a successful business online and you want to learn more about your customer, go to stores that sell the stuff that you're selling. And don't be like bashful about this. Like start up conversations. It's actually a lot of fun. And you realize like, dang, there's like a person at the other end of this click, right? There's a transaction that's happening online, but there's a person who's actually buying this, and you're going to get amazing insight that your competitors will totally overlook. And they're going to try to use, programs and software and they're going to try to buy this information. Talk to the people. I promise you, there's no reason to imagine your buyer persona or imagine your avatar. You can actually go talk to them and meet them. That's one of the beauties about selling physical products. And it creates enthusiasm. I think connecting with people that are going to be your buyers, like if you sold, hydro flasks, or this similar, vacuum sealed thermos product, seeing the people that buy it and talking to them, it creates enthusiasm. Like you're excited. Like you want to get the product out and get it in their hands. Because people are actually, you see how they react to it and that they actually want this thing. So it creates a ton of enthusiasm in your business, which a lot of times if you're stagnating, if you're plateauing, that's a lot of times what's missing, right? You've gotten comfortable and you need to get that spark of enthusiasm again. I still, by the way, even in our business, we're past the startup phase and we're scaling. I still do things that don't scale. Right now, right now we have, and you can go check this out. We have an offer. It's a ridiculous offer on our Facebook ads training. If you go to best Q4 ever, so best Q, the letter Q, the number 4 ever. This is a ridiculous offer. It might still be up when you're watching this. But if you go through that and you actually get that take us up on that offer, you get a personalized video from me. Like that doesn't scale in any way, shape, or form. Okay. But I am still, I'm testing to see, what's the reaction, right? Because I want to see, do people engage? Because obviously there's a lot of time involved with that. But the other thing is I enjoy it. Like it gets me jacked up about my business. Like I love that I'm sending this personal message to somebody they didn't expect it at all, right? And here I am like, hey, what's going on? Super excited that you've decided to do this, and it's amazing. You're going to love it. It leaves a unique sort of feeling. It's a great personal touch, but I enjoy it. It jacks me up. It jacks me up knowing that John bought this product, invested in it, trusted in me, and now I get to sort of reciprocate, right? So there's tons of enthusiasm you get from doing things that don't scale, because it usually means you're connecting on a very personal level. Other things you can do. So buyer nurture and onboarding. So actually a great example is what I just shared with bestq4ever.com. That's a current, offer that we have right now, that there's a very personalized onboarding experience, in our underground mastermind, which is our community. It's our premium community for sellers. When you're in that, there's a very personal touch. I personally welcome everyone when they come in. That doesn't really scale, but I still do it because I love it and it creates connection. Cart abandonment. This is a huge opportunity to do things that don't scale. Yes, when you are selling $300,000, $400,000 a month in sales from your store, you can't call up everyone who abandoned cart. You can't private message anyone who who connected with you on Messenger through your cart abandonment sequence, let's say. You can't connect with every single person personally, or, grab your phone and leave a voice memo, which, by the way, if you've ever interacted with me in any level, there's a good chance you probably received a voice memo from me that wasn't automated. It was me actually leaving you a voice memo, because I enjoy doing this stuff. And it gives me a lot of feedback, and it gives me a lot of fulfillment doing it. So, emailing them individually, not blasting out a one-to-many email, but individually emailing. Hey, Susan, I saw that you left this in your cart, and follow up with them, get actual feedback. Does that scale? No. Does it benefit you in, dozens of ways? Yes, it does. Also, collecting user-generated content and testimonials. I've talked endlessly about user-generated content, UGC. I will continue to talk about it. It's the best conversion asset you will ever, ever, ever have in your business. I was talking with someone. I was at a marketing event here in Raleigh, and I was talking to a guy. He has a great idea for I think for these cookies, like this. He has these Christmas cookies that people love, and he's like, every time they taste them, they get so jacked up. They love it. They're like, where can I get them? And he's like, I'm going to start selling them because I have this recipe. I'm not going to give away the recipe, but I can start selling them. And I told him, I said this exact thing. You got to do things that don't scale. I think his name, what was his name? I think it was Nathan. Like, Nathan, you got to do things that don't scale. So what you want to do is, when you're walking around and you're passing out those cookies and people are eating them and they're going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I want you to have your cell phone, right? I want you to take this thing out and right there be like, you love it? Okay, awesome. Put on the video, be like, hey, what's going on? Nathan here, and I'm here with Bill. And Bill, what do you think about the cookies? And just let him go nuts. Yeah, is it a little weird? Is it normal? No, people don't just pull out their phone and record a video. Well, actually, nowadays they kind of do, right? But step out of your comfort zone and do things that don't scale. That's such an easy way for him to collect 10, 20, 30 video testimonials from real people that are loving his product. How powerful of a conversion asset do you think that's going to be for his business when he's just starting out and just trying to build momentum? I can tell you, even with huge companies, I have a friend who has a company that's doing, they're doing tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars a year in revenue. They are right now hyper focused on UGC because they realize that's the thing that's going to get them from, 50 million to 100 million to 150 million. It's collecting that UGC. Okay. So also, like I said, go to flea markets. Even if you're currently selling, you want to test a new product, there is no substitute for getting in front of people and doing those things that don't scale. The comment sections of your ads, of your posts, engage in there. I remember Gary Vee talking about this, how it blew his mind, how people had no following, right? They had, 100 people following them, and they were like too good to reply to comments. He's like, this makes no sense to me. He has 4 million followers. I don't know what he has. And he still takes time on flights, in the car, wherever, and he still personally replies. He understands the value of doing things that don't scale. Anyway, I have tons of other things here, but I think you get the point. So bottom line is, if you're looking to really start to gain momentum in your business, if you are hitting a plateau and you want to go to the next level, you want to go from 50,000 to 100,000, you want to go from 50 million to 100 million. I know the people that are running those companies, and this is what they're doing. They're starting to do things that don't scale so that they can inject new sort of energy into the business, create new enthusiasm, and get this personal touch that's missing. That we try to, and I fall victim to this too. We try to automate everything. We try to systematize everything. We try to think like big picture. And a lot of times the answer to go big is actually to go small. So to make big impact, a lot of times the answer is to actually go small. And I would encourage you to think about in your business, how can you go small? How can you do things that don't scale? And the main thing is take action. It's a simple thing. It's hard because it usually means going a little out of your comfort zone. Picking up the phone and calling a customer who gave you their number and abandoned cart, like that takes a little bit of guts, right? It takes you out of your comfort zone. Going to a flea market, setting up, putting out products, going to an REI, talking to strangers, all this stuff. It takes you out of your comfort zone. But I promise you, one, you're going to get massive benefit from it. It's going to inject energy into your company, and you're going to be competing on a different plane from all your competitors. I promise you. So go and do it, and just take action today. Take one small step. Write down one thing you can do today that doesn't scale. You will not be doing this when you're doing $100 million in sales a year. Shoot, you won't be doing this when you're doing $100,000 a month in sales. But you can do it today. It doesn't scale, and you're going to take action on it today. And I promise you, you'll get massive energy from it, enthusiasm, and it's going to result in growth in your business. So go get after it, go do it. And I can't wait to hear the results you get from it. All right. Have an amazing day. Talk soon.